And this is WP Watercooler episode number 354. Today we're talking about auto updates in WordPress 5.5. You're thinking 5.5? We just got 5.4. Why are we even talking about 5.5? We usually complain about things that happen after they've happened, but we thought we'd pre-complain.
Yes. My kind of show.
We're airing our grievances, guys.
Complaining about stuff we haven't even gotten yet.
Exactly. It's like being an Apple fanboy and talking about this stuff. But before we get into all of that stuff, I want to let you know that we're sponsored by ServerPress, makers of the desktop server. Go check them out over at serverpress.com. They make local WordPress development easy. Yeah, they do some great stuff over there. And if you want to go check them out, serverpress.com, we appreciate them for helping us out today. Thanks.
Totally.
So, yeah, auto updates. Cosper, you brought this to our attention, and I started digging into it. And oh my gosh, what's that?
Are we going to introduce ourselves, or
everybody knows who we are?
Right, screw it.
There's
Yeah,
Steve, there's Cosper, I'm Jason.
You're right. It's the same every week. If you don't want to know who we are, look at last week.
Right, exactly. Hey, da-da. So yeah, let's talk about this. Let's get into it. We got 30 minutes. We can knock this out. So
sure.
New WordPress 5.5. When's that supposed to be coming out, Cosper?
I mean, 5.4 hasn't even dropped yet. Like they're still, I think, beta 3, beta 4 at this point.
Yeah.
And that's not due to ship until the end of March, beginning of April. Right around perfect for tax season and everything else. So the roadmap on 5.5, I have not looked at it, but I mean, you got to assume that that's another at least 3 to 4 months on top of that. So like a midsummer release, and they're looking to roll in auto updates here. It's something that Matt's been talking about. Just internally between all of us, mentioned that Matt's been talking about this since like 2013.
Yeah.
Not the first time I've heard of this one.
No.
Yeah. I remember sitting in the State of the Word at WordCamp San Francisco and having him talk about how he'd love to switch to a model like the Chrome model, where you don't even know what version of WordPress you're running. And it's just updated in the background, and you don't have to sweat that. Of course, with all of the plugins and everything else that WordPress has, it poses an interesting problem there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like bit. Steve just wants to know how to disable it, and then he'd be good.
Yeah, that's all I care about. I just whatever that plugin that ships right at or right before it, right, that allows me to disable that. Great.
Yeah, you want classic updates.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm actually kind of on the fence on this one. I'm not gonna pre-complain too much. I'm kind of on the fence, and here's why. I'm okay with very minor updates, like the security patches. I'm kind of okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Anything major, anything .x or more, no way. However, that being said, most good hosts that are worth the salt are already updating core, so it doesn't affect me, right? Those updates just happen anyway. We turn off there's a checkbox in Liquid Web and WP Engine that says don't do major upgrades, right. And so we turn off that, and we get a warning from them if our WordPress is outdated. So, like I said, I'm kind of on the fence, but it doesn't affect me all that much.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, this one, from what they're saying, the main piece to this is that they're going to have an admin screen that's going to allow you to turn at will each one of these things one by one. You could say, I want this thing to be updated no matter what. I want this thing to not be updated. But I think I'm with you, Steve, in that I would love it if there was yet like a third option in there that said, and can you include only the minor updates, only the ones that are that are security updates or something like that. I think that would be super helpful there. I do know that one of the things with the theme side of it is that, themes can get updated as well. And there's different updates that happen, but WordPress itself didn't really have a great way of telling you what was updated. So there wasn't essentially like a changelog for theme updates. That's something that's been rolled in now. So there is that possibility of having that, that README file that you could look at that will tell you here's the changes that are happening for that theme.
And every now and then I run across a site or inherit a site where a previous developer, never us, has forked a plugin or forked a theme, but not changed the name of that theme. And so they're manually, what they're doing is they're manually going in and updating just the ones that they need. And they have, a lot of them have this clear documentation that says, don't update this thing or you'll break the website, right? Really what you're doing is you're overriding their changes that they've made to whatever core thing that they updated. And those right there are going to be problematic immediately. And again, that's not WordPress's fault. That's not any fault of, this idea has the best of intentions, but because not all developers are created equally, there's going to be problems immediately because there's a lot of that core code that's been altered out in the ecosystem it's rampant. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
A variation on the theme, Steve, is the theme of themes is people who make child themes and then name them something that's already in the repo. So, this theme is named Hemingway, and I'm going to call mine just cleverly like Steinbeck or something like that. And I'm not saying that there's a theme called Steinbeck in the repo, but then the second someone drops a brand new theme called Steinbeck into the repo, you're screwed.
Yeah, and that's the slug part of it, the actual name that it will reside in the repo, right? Not the actual name itself.
Correct.
The slug part of it, yeah.
And actually, we've got some themes that we just distribute on GitHub that are not in the repo. They're starter themes. We've got two, one called Heisenberg and one called Wingspan, right? We just named them that because it was names that sort of fit what we were doing. I don't know how Heisenberg fits, frankly, but I thought it was funny, right? But if somebody is running Wingspan and they haven't, we recommend in our documentation, go ahead and change all these names to make it your own. But if it's called Wingspan and somebody just goes and creates and puts up in the repo called Wingspan, it's now going to create an upgrade path for that and override all this.
So would you, if you were to do this different, not to say that you did something wrong or anything, but you did something wrong, but if you namespaced it by putting some type of Zeke at the beginning or end of it or something like that, that would have gotten you around that part of it, right?
Yeah, and we do a lot of that anyway. But yes, but what you're talking about, Jason, is a best practice, right?
Right.
And we all know that those just aren't followed.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called a best practice and not just a thing you do. It's that therein lies the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
I've always found that when making a child theme for a site that I'm working on, just naming the child theme the actual name of the site that you're working on tends to not give me any problems when it comes to updates down the line.
Yep.
Right. Well, so I wanted to run through this list a little bit of the stuff that they're thinking about adding in here and kind of voice our opinions a teeny bit in it. So one of the things
we have opinions.
Yeah, we always have opinions.
Yeah, I
know. So one of the ones that was in here that I really liked was the fact that it would add an email notification for both plugins as well as for the theme itself. I like the fact that something like that can be done. I know that there's other plugins that are out there. For instance, Easy Update Manager, which does the same sort of thing where it'll let you know if things are being changed or what have you. But I really like the fact that it's going to tell you, hey, there is a theme update and there is a plugin update. which also means, Steve, you'd have to have yet another hook in there that's going to say, oh, by the way, don't send that email out, or only send it to me, or something like that.
Well, and the default on that should be off, right? Because a lot of times, we are not necessarily the site administrator, right? And so those emails will go to a site administrator that has no idea what to do with them. So the default should be off.
The default should be off, but it won't be.
It won't be. I know.
Decisions, not options.
Yeah.
And in this case, they might be making the wrong decision, but that's on them.
Yeah. Okay, what else was on here that I saw that was interesting? So the handle plugin auto updates, handle theme auto updates. This is because this is the kind of the working list of things that they're wanting to kind of make happen here. Validate design of plugin screen, the theme screen, and the core update screen. So there have been some cases where like those update screens just aren't enough information. And they need to kind of provide you with like, hey, by the way, if this gets updated, here's what's going to happen. Well, with it being auto updated, now you need to go back and be able to see whether or not this update, what this update did for you, or what it, could potentially break for you, or something like that. If you wanted to kind of go back and say, oh, what was that here? One of the things in the forum that I was looking at regarding this, I think it was maybe on this page, is that people were talking about there needs to be a way of rolling back. And I was like, oh, WP rollback. We get to go back to WP rollback. Come on, guys. Like that already existed and it's awesome. So, you have that sort of functionality, which isn't on this list, but is something that they would probably need to think about as well. The fact that on here, there's a section that you can use to enable updates and not enable updates and have those disabled and enabled. That's nice that it does that. I don't know what happens when you add a new plugin, if it gets automatically added as an auto updated plugin or not, but that would be something to look into as well. I don't know. I'm a Mac user that has to deal with Windows crap all the time at work, and this is what Windows did. Like Windows came out with an auto update thing, and I get plenty of computers that start complaining that there's not enough hard drive space on the computer to do an update. And then it just gets stuck there and it can't update, but it needs to be updated. So it's constantly telling the user, hey, update me, but I can't be updated. And I can foresee some of these types of things happening on this. Not that you're going to run out of disk space, but that there's just something's going to be wrong. I think the one thing that's on here that's missing is kind of what WP Engine and some of the other hosts do, where it'll do a test to see whether or not, like a pre-flight check and then a post-flight check in a staging environment to see if this works or not. I don't know how that would work with this.
I mean, I have a feeling that the core team seems to think that the white screen protection that was added is quote unquote enough, but I kind of disagree there. Like auto updating something and then breaking a site, like that is basically a surefire way to get people to turn off auto updates in the future. And I understand that it's kind of like vaccinations, like you're setting a herd immunity here by making sure that everybody, gets their site updated and most people. But the second you run into those people who turn off auto updates, they immediately become like the anti-vaxxers of WordPress. They're just like, oh, I'm not going to run auto updates. No offense, Steve. I know you said you're not going to run the auto updates. I'm not trying to call you an anti-vaxxer.
No, that's cool. Well, we'll have to come up with a term for, like, when your phone gets bricked, right? After you've run an update, there's gonna be some new term for bricking a WordPress site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it can't be white screen because now we have that white screen protection, so it would have to be something else.
I'll come up with something. Yeah, it's something along the lines of borked. My site is borked.
Right, borked. So with what you were talking about, Steve, the idea of having just the minor updates, which are more of the security update type thing, how would you design that screen to make it so that it would be Is it just adding an extra column in there that says like minor updates and only allow those to happen? But what defines a minor update? Like if you suck at numbering conventions.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I was going to just say that. I mean, it would be the dot X, update. But if I'm a layperson, I have no idea what that means, right? You might just say, yes, give me all security patches, right? And actually label them that way, right? But they do sneak in other updates with security patches as well. So I don't know. That again, that's all I care about is if I'm going to turn on auto update, I'd want auto updating. I'd want security patches. Oh, look, it's the Chrome updater, which I hate.
But look at the numbering scheme here. So you have like
it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
It's like, dude, this is almost a phone number. It literally is a phone number.
I only want an update if it's 9 digits or more. That's when I want my update.
And so how do you make something like that be something that if you wanted to do minor updates and only allow for minor updates, what's the flag? It used to be like ... and then anything after that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb with what you just showed, and I know I'm gonna get pushback on this, right? The nice thing about Chrome is it I've never seen it brick, right? Whatever the term is for that. I've never seen it bork or white screen, right? So I have those updates on. I don't mind those updates. I've never seen it not work. Maybe they have a better testing program for Chrome, right?
They do.
I know they do.
3 layers of it.
I was being nice, right? But I've never, I trust that. I have that on. I trust that because I've never seen Chrome break after an update. I don't even know it's happening. Every now and then I'll notice there's something new inside of Chrome. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. It must have, they must have updated at some point. You're gonna notice with WordPress. Maybe, okay, here's an idea. Maybe Jetpack should offer some sort of visual testing tool, right? So that my auto updates, when they run an auto update on my site, it does some sort of visual test on my site to see if something broke.
Yeah, I'm
going to give that idea away to the Automatic team for free.
only another $5 to $10 a month. Let's say $8 a month visual comparison on all your sites.
Sweet. That's sweet.
Oh, man.
One of the interesting things on these, and I'm glad that they're allowing you to like pick what you don't want auto updated, or at least conceptually, that's where they're kind of going. As somebody who works with a lot of WooCommerce sites day in and day out, a WooCommerce update, I mean that is almost akin to a core update.
But. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No. I mean, just having people update their WooCommerce, having people update, stuff like wishlist member, some of these bigger paid plugins, or the things that people are basing large parts of their income off of.
And that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, now you're getting into something that affects a bigger picture item, right? It's one thing to update your cat blog, right? So my cat blog's offline, and people can't see my cat blog posts for however long it takes me to hire a developer to fit and find out what happened. It's another thing when you're talking about affecting revenue, right? So if you're running your business on WooCommerce and they run an auto update and it bricks or borks or white screens, right? Now you're affecting revenue, right?
Yeah.
At Zeke, that's how we define a drop dead emergency, right? If a client calls, we have an escalation path, right? As soon as something is affecting revenue, whether it's ad dollars or sales, that's a drop dead emergency. We've got to go fix it right now. All hands on deck.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, when I was coming up in tech support, we would constantly get those messages. I am losing thousands of dollars per hour, or hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour. Please fix my site immediately.
Mm-hmm. SusiesCatblog.com has 3 pages on it. None of them are selling anything.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Oh man.
Ad revenue is still revenue.
Yeah, the ads on my cat blog are losing thousands of dollars per hour. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. So, but I don't know. This is an interesting one. I mean, I welcome the fact that it's going to send out an email letting you know that things are going to be updated and stuff. That's cool. Hopefully it tells you, hey, by the way, you're 5 updates behind on this one plugin that you disabled the updates for, and maybe that might be a good thing. There's a couple of those things that I'm hoping that they will actually add into this, and if not, then there's a great API and people will start building some cool stuff off of it.
Does it take into account, like, so if you haven't updated your MacBook or your Mac in a long time, right, and you go to upgrade to the latest Mac OS, there's a limit, right? You can only go back so far with OSs. It's three systems, I think, but there's an algorithm that it actually checks and says, I'm sorry, your OS is not up to date enough to update to this, because it's too much of a gap, right? And they do that so that it doesn't bork your system, right?
Right.
Is WordPress going to do the same thing? Because you can't just upgrade WordPress 3 to WordPress 5.5, right?
Yeah, you have to step through all the majors.
Yeah. I mean,
it's interesting. And to go back to WooCommerce, not a lot of people know this, but in the plugin headers for WooCommerce, they have a minimum version of compatibility for extensions for WooCommerce, and they have the tested up to effectively for the version of WooCommerce that you're running. Maybe we need to start doing that for more than just WooCommerce. Maybe, yeah.
Well, ACF is a classic. ACF from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 was a complete rebuild, and they changed the whole database schema. It broke most of the sites that it was running on. If you were running certain things that completely depend on ACF, it just broke. That's just what happened, right? And so that if you try to update something like that, we're going to have problems.
Yeah.
Anyway,
which means that there's going to need to be those header flags in there that are going to say, like, this is not only a major release, but this is so much of a major release. Please do not allow this thing to be auto updated. And I haven't seen that in here yet. I haven't looked through any of the code on this just yet, but I'm really curious if those sorts of things are being, taken into account.
Now, we've only got 7 minutes left, but there are some positives here, right? I mean, this is being done with the best intentions, right? Because out-of-date WordPress sites are security risks, right? They're at risk of having PHP errors, right? There are risks with running outdated code, and so if a whole bunch of sites get updated as a result of this, and a few break, I'm okay with that. That's a good thing. It's just making those sites more secure and safer, and choose a word.
Right. I was going to also mention I've been running the Neckbeard's perspective this time in the episode where we talk about this. I've been running auto updates on a number of my sites, the more simple ones that aren't using big plugins like WooCommerce, stuff like that. And there goes my dog. For years and years. Punch. So I've been running auto updates on these sites for years and years, and they haven't broken yet. I've maybe run into one site that's gotten, as Steve says, borked from doing that. So I definitely think that it's ready for prime time.
Yeah. I mean, the iPhone, Android also have auto updates that happen as well. You plug the phone in, if it's on Wi-Fi, at least on iPhone, it will do the update, and you just wake up in the morning and your phone may or may not have rebooted, and everything's fine, and it's like nothing happened. So there are, those situations too.
That wasn't always, I just want to caveat, that wasn't always the case with iPhone. Not every update has been great.
No. But there are those types of, there is something that's been said for, there can be something that's said for the fact that when you get an update like that and things just work, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. But you better have all your ducks in a row before you do this. And it looks like, that the core team's kind of going through here and saying, well, are we ready yet? And if we are, let's build this thing and kind of see what's out there. I just hope that they're looking at the things that already exist, stuff like Easy Update Manager and stuff like that, to see how they pulled off the things that they did.
What I worry about is the size of the code base, right? And then I know there's a lot of tickets in Track that are 10 years old, right? That just never get addressed, that just keep getting pushed off, right? In stuff that isn't even really being used anymore, but it's there. And what I worry about is if those things change or get deprecated or just get removed from code, and they are still being used somewhere, it could cause a problem. And again, I'm talking about an edge case, right? These are all edge cases, is what they are, right? And ultimately, you can only do so much to take care of edge cases, to address edge cases. You can't let those drive you keep you from driving you forward.
Absolutely. And actually, I think that this whole thing is kind of a test case for making those major versions of WordPress auto-updatable, which is the thing that Matt has been pushing for, like said in our chat, since 2013. There is a thing that WordPress hosts are doing and have been doing for some time now. Basically, they're running a PHP unit, and every update that happens to WordPress core, they're testing how it runs, how a test install would run on their platform to make sure that it works. So there's no platform incompatibilities. So we're kind of getting to this place where there is some testing around the core updates that I think is setting some groundwork for this in, not 5.5, but 5.6, 5.7. Probably they want the dust to settle down after 5.5 comes out with the plugin updates. So maybe this time next year, or the State of the Word 2021, Matt's like, we're going to go ahead and do core updates. Like that's where we're going from here on out. It'll be a really interesting thing to watch, but I think it's great that the hosts have kind of taken it upon themselves. I sent a link to our internal chat, and Jason will get that in the show notes. But I mean, you have A2 hosting, DreamHost, HumanMade, all of SiteGround, all running these tests to make sure that they work on their hosting. Yep. So I think that, the more hosts that they get to adopt that, the better poised we'll be to make sure that nothing borks our site.
I had one thing. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go for it, Steve.
I was just going to give one piece of advice to our audience, and we say it all the time, but if you don't have this in place, right now, in preparation for this, make sure you have automated backups on. Right? Be taking a backup at least once a day if your host isn't doing it. That way, if something does go wrong, you're protected.
Yeah. Or do it anyway, even if your host is already doing it, because 2 is 1 and 1 is none. You have a failed backup, and then you don't have a backup at all. You have a failed backup, and you have 2. At least you have another backup to go to.
Yep,
definitely. Only thing I'm curious about here is looking at the article on WP Tavern, they mentioned that PHP 7.2 is required for the plugin currently, and I'm just curious if it's the
plugin
the plugin for the auto updates. Yeah, the one that they're using as their kind of test candidate. Okay. So, but WordPress's compatibility is 5.6 is its minimum. So are we saying that at some point we're just going to bump it up and you got to be in 7.2 land in order to be able to run this thing?
Well, I know we're out of time, but the other thing that's interesting is PHP seems to be getting updated really often now, right? Once we've gotten to 7, it's going from 7.0 to 7.1 to 7.2 to 7.3 really fast. We sat in 5.6 for a long time. I don't know what happened to 6. And now they get updates like it feels like every few months. We're in like a whole new major version of PHP. So
I don't know.
Anyway,
I guess we won't find out until State of the Word where
or on the PHP cooler next week.
Right. Exactly. Go learn PHP deeply. How about that?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I appreciate it. Go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com where you can learn all about these things that we have going on here. And we do shows 2 days or two times a week on Fridays at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Pacific. And you can check us out on any of the major podcast places where you can listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and I even stream this to Twitter. Why not? You know, it's a just check mark. I just check it, and it just does Twitter as well. So
I watch it on MySpace.
Yeah, you should. You should. All right, guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.